is straight African. How do you see African Americans?
I see y'all as slaves.
And what makes us slaves?
Because you built a nation that controls you.
How does it control us? We got NBA, NFL, we running it.
They use you as dancers and entertainers.
But they paying us $100 million plus.
Yeah, but then they own the money.
So do Africans, how y'all see African Americans?
Huh?
How do Africans see African Americans?
We see y'all honestly as, if you want the truth, we see y'all as our heroes that have given up on themselves.
But I know a lot of Americans that see y'all, they be like African booty scratchers.
It's the persona that the white man has printed on you to dismiss your brother. Because you got to divide me to conquer me with you.
But you divided us and said we are slaves.
Yeah.
But they got y'all too, ain't it?
No, they don't.
You ain't be like, I'm your brother, I'm lost though.
Because I could say tomorrow, if I'm done with this shit, I could go home. You can't go home. You stay here.
About back in the day, so they say I saw a video where somebody was saying that back in the days, if you was called black, then that was like a derogatory.
It was.
It was.
You couldn't call me black. You can call me Afro-American. You can call me nigger. You can call me Negro.
Right.
You couldn't call me color.
Right.
Because I said everybody got color.
Right.
So how you gonna call me color? I'm a human being.
Right.
And you address me as a human being. Because
Right.
I'm a child of the king.
Right.
I should tell them that. And I said, you're gonna address me accordingly.
Yeah, I definitely. I don't know.
I refuse to this day. I don't accept none of
Those terms.
No,
Right.
they put it on my application. I refuse to put it up there.
Yeah, I don't. I put Yamasi up there. I don't.
I will tell you how crazy I said. I'm from the soil of this land.
Right.
And that's all I'm putting up there.
Right.
Amen to that. That's where the Creator created me. He said, from dust you came, and dust I'm going to return.
Right.
Well, that's what I believe.
Right.
And you ain't going to call me nothing else but that.
The average African American genome is very distinct from the African genomes from which they were taken. Now, you couple that with the fact that there is more genetic diversity within the African continent than in the rest of the world put together, which means that, on average, someone from Senegal is more different genetically to someone from Angola than either of those people are to anyone else on the rest of the planet. And that's just what the genetics says. So I know this is quite a brain scrambling concept.
No, I'm with you.
But this is one of the problems with the earlier conversation about how we categorize people. We say black people, right? Because Linnaeus said black people, Homo sapiens Afa or Africanus. But actually, it's a completely incoherent biological category because of the amount of genetic diversity that exists in people from who are in Africa or from the African diasporas. So how this relates to the transatlantic slave trade means that you've got two people taken from maybe neighboring tribes or counties or whatever the equivalent is, or countries, who are taken from their birthplace, put onto ships, mixed around, they live or die, they then traded around, forcibly mated potentially. We know from the genetics now that there is a lot of European DNA in the African American genome, and mostly it is from male Europeans into female African Americans. So, figure that out. Interestingly, the converse is also true. Many white Americans have up to 20% of African ancestry that we can measure in their DNA.
Hey, shalom, shalom. Keepers of sheep. Yasil. Back with another lesson. The Lord will. This video was edifying. Alright, before we begin, I'd like to first start off by giving all praise, all honor, and all glory to the Most High, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rekah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, Shalom, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. Alright, today's camp title will be African versus African American. All right. And as you can see, today's lesson is inspired by a couple clips played at the beginning of the video. And I want to say I got 2 of these from Instagram and 1 from TikTok. All right. And they all just came to me around the same time. So, I felt the need to do a lesson addressing this so-called African versus African American. All right, so as you can see in the first video, you have 2 dark-skinned men. All right, one is a so-called African and one is a so-called African American. All right, the African American would be the so-called Negro of America. All right, the so-called black man of America today, and the African would be, your regular African, so-called African anyway, from the continent of Africa. All right, and we're just gonna say that he is an African. All right, because he could possibly be an Israelite too. All right, he could possibly be Jake as well, but we'll just say that he's an African. All right, and biblically he would be a Hamite. All right, and biblically the other black guy with the grill in his mouth, the diamond teeth, he would be Israelite. All right, possibly from either one of the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, or Levi. Right. So yeah, they the so-called Africans from the continent of Africa, those born and raised in the continent of Africa, they know the difference. All right, they know that it's a difference between us and them. All right, not only do they know, the entire world knows. All right, except for those in America. All right, except for those in Babylon, because even the white people, so-called white people, they deem us Africans. All right, they don't know the difference. All right, and some do, many do, and many don't. But it's bad because our people don't. All right, and I don't like saying our people because these are not our people. All right, these so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, 2/3 of them are not our people. All right, they're just Negroes, right, and Latinos and Native Americans, right. But we're discussing the fact that the so-called African American, all right, would be an Israelite, again, possibly from the tribe of Judah, Levi, or Benjamin, right? The so-called Negro, all right, which goes by, African American today, would be an Israelite, right? And the so-called African, all right, those of born and raised in the continent of Africa, all right, many of those would be Hamites, right? There's 2 different nations, 2 different peoples, 2 different lineage, cultures, 2 different totally people, right? And I got a couple precepts, of course, and again, Lord, with this video is edifying, right? And bouncing off the other video, all right, with the older woman, right, who understands and knows that there's a difference. She knows that she is a chosen, all right? And it's the thing, the Israelites, all right, the so-called African Americans are a chosen people. We are not black, right? Negroes, Afro-American, right? Indians, whatever you want to call us, right? Same thing for the so-called Native Americans and Latinos, right? Those are just proverbs and bywords, and we'll get into that, all right, as we, move forward in the lesson. But, all right, I want to start off in the book of Exodus, 11-7, of course, right? And I think I want the NLT. All right, bear with me. Exodus 11:7. And it reads, this is Exodus, all right, the book of Exodus, chapter 11, verse 7, and it reads, But among the Israelites, it will be so peaceful that not even a dog will bark. Then you will know that the Lord then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between the Egyptians and the Israelites. All right, so the Egyptians, all right, are also Hamites, right? Just as, there's many proverbs and bywords amongst our people. They also are known as the Egyptians because many of them dwell in the land of Egypt, all right, which is in Africa, right? So again, Exodus 11:7 NLT, but among the Israelites, it will be so peaceful that not even a dog will bark. Then you will know the Lord makes a distinction, between the Egyptians and the Israelites. All right, so there is a difference. All right, because right now, so many people confuse the African Americans, all right, with the Africans, all right, the Egyptians, all right, because we all have dark skin, we all have melanin, all right, but again, we aren't the same. We aren't African, we aren't black, all right, we aren't these proverbs and bywords that they label us, right? And we'll grab this in Deuteronomy real quick. 28:7. No, 28:27, and it reads, because understand, as a part of the curses in the book of Deuteronomy, we would not go by our true identity. We would lose our identity, all right, and become, not only we called Negro, Latino, Native American, but, for those scattered abroad, all right, those scattered amongst the nations, all right, some of us are called Chinese, Japanese, German, Russian, Filipinos, Australians, whatever, Hawaiians, all right, we're scattered amongst all nations, all right, we're scattered everywhere in the earth, all right, so there are many proverbs and bywords, but the main ones are so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. Deuteronomy 28:37. And it reads, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai shall lead thee. That's right. So, wherever we are today in the world, that's what we can go by. All right. That's what we classify ourselves as, because we don't know our true identity. We lost that. That's why we're declared the lost sheep of the house of Israel. All right. And that's mainly going to the elect truly. But as a nation, we have lost our identity. Right. Again, you asked Jake today who he be, who he is. I'm from Africa, man, the motherland, man, and that's not the case, man. We're not, Africa, Africanos, I forget the exact name, but it's of course, so-called Edomite, right? I mean, not so-called, but so-called white man, Edomite. All right, they take these lands and they name them after themselves. All right, and we just inherit that name because we stay in that land. All right, same thing today. With America, Vespucci. I know the names. All right, but it's it's hard to pronounce. All right, so again, Deuteronomy 28:37, and it reads, and thou shalt become an astonishment, all right, a proverb and a byword, right, among all the nations where the Lord shall lead thee. All right, so again, we're not being called Israelites today, all right? We're not being called our true nationality, our true identity, so we're confused on who we are, all right? But the other nations are not. These other nations know who they they lead back to. All right, majority of them do anyway. All right, and they know that we are not Africans. Only us know that we are not Africans, but the Africans know that we are not Africans. Right? They don't claim us. They don't want to be one of us. All right, they don't want to be a part of us. So we take that and we don't we want to be a part of anything and everything. So we're easy to tag along, right? So let's see what else we got. Okay, Psalms 83:4. Okay, this is good. It says, they have said, come. Matter of fact, I'm going to start up. Psalms 83:2. And it reads, says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. And remember, these Africans, they hate you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. They hate you so-called African Americans. These are not your friend. These are your enemies. All right. You heard what he said in the video. Anytime, he wanted to, get up and go and say, F this, he could leave. All right. He's not a slave here. We are. All right. He understands that he's not one of us. And he understands that, he has just a little bit of leverage over us. Right. Especially in this captivity, right? Psalms 83:4, and it reads, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So these people think they better than us. All right, they on a different level, right? For us, this is their kingdom. They rule here. It says 3, they have taken crafty counsel. All right, against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. What does it mean to be hidden? All right, meaning you're hiding. You're behind. All right, you're hiding behind something. All right, you're not. You're not out front. All right, you're not easily seen as who you are, or what you're supposed to be. All right, we're hidden behind what? African American, right? Negro, right? Afro American, right? Nigger, right? Black people, right? Brother, black man, brother man, whatever, man, right? It says they have taken crafty counsel. I mean, they give us these things. All right, this is part of the council. All right, let's give them a new identity this year. Let's give them a new name this year. This is a crafty council. We don't come up with these names. They do, right? It says they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. I mean, and it says against thy people, meaning these people, the Israelites, they are a chosen people. They belong somewhere. They belong to a God. And that's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the Bible, the God of the Israelites. All right, Yahweh, being the Heavenly Father, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai being the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Right? 4, it says, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. All right? It says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. All right, so they have gave you all these different names, all right, and identities, cultures, all right, religions, beliefs, all right, and it puts you further and further away from your true identity as Israelites, all right, meaning you claim to be anything and everything other than your true identity. All right, so they have said, come and let's cut them off from being a nation, because a nation of Israel are a people. All right. And if we're not, identified as our nationality, then we're not a people. All right. And we're just, we're just here. All right. We're not a nation. Right. It says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So we lost that name. All right. But we through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, all right, we have gained our identity. All right. And now we remember who we are as a people, as a nation. Right. It says, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And here's just a couple nations. It says the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes. And I'm not gonna continue to top up these names, but understand that every nation has played a part in keeping us oppressed and hidden, and taking our identity and giving us these false identities. All right, as as we're black people, we're not black people. Nobody's black, right? We're brown people, we're melanated people. We're just different shades of brown, man. All right. Let's see. Maybe a couple more, maybe one more precept. Where did I get this? Oh yeah, bear with me. Kind. This is Baruch 3:8, and it reads, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity. All right, where thou hast scattered us. All right, for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power." So it says, "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity." In the first video, the so-called African, he mentioned that, he sees us as slaves. His people see us as slaves. All right, and that's the truth, because we are. You heard what he said, because what? We built a nation, we built a kingdom, and we don't even rule in it. We built it for another nation. Right? We don't own anything. We don't play no parts in this kingdom. They say we can vote, but we really not voting. All right, we vote for our oppressors, right? What sense does that make? We built the kingdom, and we don't have anything to show for it. All right. Baruch 3:8. "Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse." All right. So again, we were scattered here. All right. And now the curse in the book of Deuteronomy, all right, us becoming proverbs and bywords, was a part of that captivity. All right, that's a part of being a slave. You go by the identity of your oppressor. That's why we have the names of Jones, Williams, Smith, Gaines, Miller. All right, there's many names. Many. Your last name ultimately goes back to your oppressor. All right, your slave master, man. All right. And, from those names come from his forefathers, all right, which are, again, all these are our enemies, all right, our oppressors. Okay, a quick last precept, we'll close it out. This is Daniel 9:12, and it reads, "He hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. All right, for under the whole heaven hath not been done as it hath been done upon Jerusalem." All right, meaning no other nation, all right, has got it worse than us. All right, has been done and treated like we have been treated. No other nation has been, persecuted. All right, been in slavery for 400 years continuously, not even only 400 years, but continually in slavery. All right, no other nation is ignorant and blind, is dumb. No other nation is in this much iniquity and sin. All right, no other nation is this wicked and evil. All right, no other nation is this dumb, this stupid, this sottish. All right, only the nation of Israel, man. And that these other nations can see that. All right, and this is, more proof. All right, these couple videos, these couple clips. All right, so hey, man, Lord will, again, this video was edifying. Until next time, I'd like to close out by giving all praise, All honor and all glory to the Most High, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone, Shalom, and Shalom to the hopeful elect.